Wait, but what's your view on philosophy? Like, what's your view on, like, do you adopt a particular theory of mind? Or?
Oh God.
Yeah, I would just take an idealist position.
You're insane.
Oh, like which, like what specifically? Which thesis? Like, so there's like, they're like kind of like metaphysical views of idealism. They're like epistemological views of idealism. Like which?
The Castro kind. I know it's
it would be metaphysical.
Okay.
Idealism.
So it's just the view that like everything is a mind, or like everything is mental. Exactly. Like.
So not every being is going to be a mind. So like you have to qualify what that means. So a lot of things that we take to exist are just going to be mental objects. So like a rock is not a mind. It's just an object within our own perception.
Okay.
Whoever gave me this PhD tag, we got to chill. I'm just some dude. I'm not like...
No, we know.
Yeah, but what do you think it means for something to be mental?
So it has experiential properties. It has qualia. It's not exhaustively describable in terms of quantity.
So like there's like, for example, there's something it's like to be a rock, or there's something it's like to be a tree, or something like that.
Yeah, that would be it.
And I guess like why would we think any of that?
So if you're not going to take that view, you're going to take some other kind of physicalist view.
Or you could just be agnostic.
It's just, sure, you could be agnostic. But I would just take it like it would be an abductive case. I don't see.
Yeah, like what? Like what sort of abduct?
Well, inference is the best explanation.
No, I know what abduct. I know what it is. I'm just asking, like, what is the like argument?
So that would be just about selecting from the views available and going with the ones that are the least problematic.
Wait, why wouldn't there just be like? What if there's like some? I mean, like, couldn't there just be some objection where, like, the views that are available are just like the best ones of some like bad lot of theories?
Yeah, you could take that view, and then you could just be an agnostic if you wanted. You could say they are bad views.
But let's just start with like, so let's just say like what reason would we, like, why would we accept that, that for all of these objects, there's something it's like to be these objects, etc. Like that thesis alone, why would we?
I don't take that view. I don't think there's anything that is like to be a rock.
Oh, you don't take that view?
Yeah, no, well, I just take a rock to be an object in our own consciousness. And it doesn't have some independent existence.
Okay, so that's not the view. So then I thought earlier when I asked you what it means for something to be mental, I thought that's what you signed off on. Maybe it's something else. Fine, but like, but look, okay, so like when you say that they're an object of our consciousness, are you saying like our collective minds, like my mind, it's an object in both my mind or your mind or something like that?
So you have a mind, and that's experiential. Yeah. And I can have some experience of your mind. I'm not going to have epistemic access to it. So I can describe it in certain terms. But everything that I would be describing would really ultimately just be describing my own experience. And then there would be the hope that there's some correspondence there.
Yeah. Do you think, okay, so like, let's say, suppose like, we both look at the same rock. Do you think that, do you think that's the same rock, or do you think that we're having two different experiences?
That's actually a good question. So, in as far as the experiences differ, it'll be a different experience. But by the property of indiscernibles, if there's nothing to discern as being different, it's not a different experience.
Okay, but now are we experiencing the same object though?
If there's nothing to discern as being different, yeah, it's the same object.
Okay, and then what is that object?
Minimally, it's just our qualia.
Our qualia. Wait, I thought, but that's kind of going back to separate. Because remember, like, I agree that we both have, so we both have an experience, this sort of visual experience of a rock. So I'm seeing a rock, you're seeing a rock. We can both describe it in roughly accurate ways. I'm asking, like, what is the thing that we're actually both describing? What is the thing that we're both experiencing there?
Okay, so like. And as far as I'm not going to take a direct realist position, what we experience is the contents of our own perception. Now, you may think that there's a referent there and that it corresponds to something. And my view is that it corresponds to reality. And it does describe reality. But we don't have any reason to say that that is something that's not mental. We also don't really have any reason to describe it as mental. But if we're gonna if you're gonna take a foundationalist approach to epistemology, you start with what we do have access to, and we call that mental. And then we know that we have good reason to believe that there's something external. But we don't have good reason to do is to like divide the world ontologically into some category. We say these are mental and that's not mental.
Okay, well, I'm not even going.
So just to wrap it up, it's like a kind of transcendentalism where instead of saying there's multiple ontological categories, we can say that what exists is something that seems to be private and then something that seems to be shared. But above and beyond saying that it's shared, there's no meaning to saying that this is mental or physical.
Okay, well, I'm not even going down the epistemology route yet. I'm just trying to figure out what the view is exactly, because what I understand is that you think, we both have experiences of like some object, and I ask you like, well, what that object is. Well, irrespective of like whether you're a direct realist or something, like presumably you do take our experiences to be like vertical here. Right?
Yeah.
Unless that's not your.
Well, there's some degree of correspondence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, so do you think that there's this object in the world that we're both experiencing from, or?
Yeah, but it's not going to
Okay.
have. It's not really. So when we just say that it's an object, that's really an act of predication rather than like an act of identity. Like,
I don't. I'm just saying something that exists by object.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's a description, right? So like fundamentally, I wouldn't. There's no reason to think that the universe or what exists is composed of objects, right?
Wait, now you're kind of losing me. Presumably, like if you're saying it's a description of what?
Reality, and it would be just like a transcendental reality.
Yeah, but
like a thing of which we don't really.
Okay. Yeah, now you're just like really losing me, because I think so. There's two things here, right? So I understand, like, so just the basic thesis that there are people, we can experience something very similar. Both our experiences can be vertical. But what I'm not understanding is like when I ask you, okay, well, what is that object that we're both experiencing? That both our perspectives are kind of connected to, that we're both like sort of vertically perceiving, and you just say like, well, it's not really an object, but it's like a description. I'm like, wait a second, I don't really know what you're saying there.
Okay, but when you ask what is it, what sort of are you asking? Like this?
Yeah, so like, yeah, so like, I mean, like roughly, I mean, I would just say, well, there just is a rock, and there are two people who have different perspectives, and they're just both observing it. Like that's one answer you could give, but it seems like you're saying that that's actually like some type of mental thing, and I don't really know what that's supposed to mean.
Well, when I say what kind of is, what I really mean is like, are you asking about the identity of the thing, or are you asking about some predicate, right? Like we can say grass is green, right? That's like predicate.
Is as like a quantifier, like the existential quantifier. Like there is some X, or
existential quantifier is just like there exists a rock.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that's the sense I'm asking you. Like, so like when I say like what is, I'm just saying like what exists, that we're both vertically perceiving.
Yeah, so you're asking for its identity, and I don't think we have access to that. We just have a way of describing.
Okay, but you agree that there is something. You're just saying you don't really know like what it is. It's like an episteme.
I think the question doesn't really hash out, because an identity is a relation between terms. It's not a relation between objects. And when you ask what is the object, all you can really be asking is some relation between terms used to describe the object. I don't know what it means to say what is an object, other than to ask about some relation between multiple descriptors of that object.
I mean, if what you're just saying is like you can use terms in ways, I agree. I don't know what you're.
Right. So like you can describe it as a rock, or you could describe it as something that's like a rock. But to ask like what it is beyond asking for a description of it, I don't know what that means.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm trying to understand what you're saying then. But like, is this just like a type of Kantian view? Or?
Yeah, it's definitely a Kantian view.
Okay. Well, I mean, okay, yeah, like fine. Like suppose, yeah, like okay, like I mean, if that is the view, like I understand what the view is. I'm just saying like, well, I don't really know why I would accept the view, but like you're saying it's like just a very traditional like transcendental type of idealism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I accept the view because I can't. bring myself to accept any other views. And like I said, I don't think it's a perfect view, and I would like it. It has its own sort of theoretical vices, but
yeah, but why wouldn't? Yeah, I guess like why wouldn't you just be agnostic again?
Well, it's plausible. I don't really know how to answer that question. There's nothing about it that I mean, ontology is underdetermined, and I would say that as we are able to make more determinations, it's going to break one way or the other.
Yeah, but I'm just saying like why should your credence in that view like be above like 0.5 or 0.6 or whatever or point? Unless you just have like some intuition about it, which I lack, but you know, you could also be appealing to other like considerations.
Well, if we take it to be a true so either trichotomy or dichotomy of the available positions, that it either is the case that physicalism is true, or dualism is true, or idealism is true. That
I don't even think I know what physicalism is about. I mean, people define physicalism in like a lot of different ways. I'm not even sure I know. Like you'd have to specify what you mean by physicalism. I'm not even sure. I mean, you also have to specify because your idealism, like this sort of transcendental form of idealism. There are also different views of idealism also. So like, I mean, if you're just talking about your view, you also have to specify more things. Like, but let's just start with the physicalism part. Like, what do you think physicalism is supposed to be?
Well, there's different varieties. So like, you're going to have like identity theory. You're going to have like functionalism.
No, that's physicalism about mind. I'm just are you asking, where are you talking about like metaphysical physicalism or just like the mind theory?
Sure, yeah. It's a broader thesis than just like theory of mind. I was just thinking about theory of mind. But yeah, but I think physicalism fails even harder.
Okay, yeah. Since we kind of started, like, since you're just bringing up like a metaphysical theory, we could just talk about the metaphysics instead of the mind thing. Yeah, so like, let's say like physicalism as a metaphysical theory. Like, what do you take that to be?
That which exists is exhaustively composed of physical facts.
And then, by fact. Okay, so people talk about facts. So one way you can talk about facts is like you're talking about states of affairs. Another way you can talk about facts is you can talk about them as true propositions. Which account are you giving there?
So a fact is a true proposition.
Okay. Yeah, I'm saying that's one way you can talk about it. But then it's like on that account, it won't really make sense to say like the world is composed of true properties. That's a bit weird. But like usually, like if you're like a correspondence theorist or like a metaphysical realist, like in that context, like a lot of times, like you know, like people like Russell they might talk about facts in the sense of like there being like states of affairs, or so that's a way where what you're saying makes sense to me. But if you're just talking about true propositions and saying the world is composed of, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, then let me just fix that because yeah, you're making a good point. Yeah, it's it would be just the thesis that physical states are everything that exists.
And then what's a physical state?
So it would be a state that's exhaustively describable by physical quantities.
And like physical quantities, and what exactly do you think those are?
Charge, mass, spin.
Okay, so like, all right, so just things indexed to like our current. Yeah, so like it seems. Yeah, so that. So do you know what like Hempel's dilemmas are?
Temporal dilemmas?
Do you know Hempel's dilemma?
Oh no, I don't know.
Alright, so like they're not too rigorous ideas, just that like so if you're understanding what physicalism is, and that's indexed to like either that could be indexed to like our current science is, or it could be indexed to something that isn't our current science is, like some sort of ideal like scientific theories about whatnot. And I'm saying the point is like if it's about our current theories, then on that account like physicalism might as well just be likely false because our sciences are like most certainly incompletely, but we definitely don't have a perfect description of the world. Like there could be very many other properties that we might include as physical properties or whatever. And so in that theory, like maybe it seems likely that physicalism is not true. Now if you're talking about like these sort of ideal theories, for example, you could say like somebody mute theory. Anyway, you could say like at the end of physics or whatever, that's one account of what it could mean to be ideal. Well, you might think there isn't an end to physics, or there might not be one. Or at that point, like you could just have a theory that's very trivially true that might include many things that that a lot of people want to deny can be counted as physical. So let's say like an ideal theory of physics would, kind of validate that being like God is somehow composed of things that we count as physical properties or whatnot. So that'd be an example of the ideal part, which will just be. So do you understand the idea here?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's going to grant that current physical theories are false. And that's not controversial.
Yeah, but it seems like on that.
What do you mean by false?
Sorry, what?
What do you mean by false?
Meaning that they make incorrect predictions. And at some point we'll discuss.
Incorrect, right. Like in relation to what?
Provincial. They're tentative hypotheses until shown to be wrong. I mean, that's the. And then I don't know, you might think that that's going to continue forever because like reality just eludes a perfect theory.
All he's saying is that currently they don't provide a complete description of the world. And so like the current set of things that we call physical properties, that might expand in the future. We might figure out more things are, included in that set or whatever. And the point is that like on that theory, if that's how you're understanding, physicalism, that theory is just going to be not trivially, but it will be very likely to be a false theory. So it just seems like
I understand that. Yeah. So, but then the idea would be that like the world is in principle described by some set of physical quantities, and those might
that might just be like, for example, if the claim is that if it's like logically possible to describe the world in that way, like that just seems like to be a kind of trivial theory because that sort of description, that in principle description, might include all sorts of things that we might not want to call physical things.
I need a little more. So, yeah, just try that one again. I didn't quite get it. So, yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I can go through it again. So that sort of in principle description that we arrive at through like, our ideal physical theory, that theory could, seems like could potentially include pretty much anything. Like all the claim is that it's possible that there's some ideal physical theory, that contains like some set of like content or whatever, but the content is like indeterminate. That content could be anything.
Sure, I think there is a boundary around quantitative descriptions, and then being able to deduce something qualitative from that.
Wait, by quantitative, do you just mean like describable, like from like our like classical mathematics, from the axioms of mathematics and like our theorems, etc.? Because that also has a similar issue. Like our mathematics also isn't like complete. We can discover mathematical theorems, and whatever the content of that ideal theory with whatever mathematical theorems we've described, those could describe potentially anything. So the content is still kind of indeterminate. We don't really know.
Yeah. So, but the idea is that on physicalism, that which exists is quantitative. And by the way, if the physicalists were just to back off and say that which exists is describable quantitatively, but it doesn't have the identity of being quantitative, then I actually wouldn't have a problem with that view.
Yeah, but the point is you can still just bring up the same dilemma first. So by quantitative, are you referring to our current mathematical theories or our ideal or complete mathematical theories? And I'm saying you can still have the same like dilemma there. By the way, I have to. The music here is horrible. I'm going to leave soon. So, yeah, I can stay here for 5 more minutes. But yeah, you can still do the same dilemma with the mathematics.
Yeah, but so isn't there some constraint in principle within mathematics such that that which exists in mathematics is quantitative?
Yeah, sure.
It's composed of discrete structures.
Yeah, but I'm saying by quantitative, all you just mean presumably is being describable by, or being capable of being modeled accurately or adeptly with our mathematical theories. And I'm just saying you can do the same dilemma there. You say, well, are you talking about our current mathematical theories?
So in mathematics, though, we actually have an identity. So mathematics is something quantitative. And that's an identity. It's not like we describe mathematics quantitatively.
Or you're just saying mathematics makes use of various like numbers and symbols, etc. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so in principle, that's actually all that can be contained in mathematics. There actually can't be anything qualitative contained under the umbrella.
I'm saying, I don't know what you mean by qualitative there, but I'm just saying like we could discover, like presumably it's conceivably we could discover like all hosts of different mathematical theorems or that allow us to model different things. But what do you mean by qualitative exactly? What is?
So qualitative would be our subjective experience.
Yeah, why would we think that it's? Wait a second. Why would we think that it's impossible to model features of our subjective experience with like like mathematical theorems and stuff? Like, there's even attempts to do it, like integrated information theory. There are attempts to do it right now.
I know. I agree that we could model it.
Oh, it's possible.
Yeah, no, it's possible. But on physicalism, the world is like it has the identity of being something quantitative.
Yeah.
And that rules out the possibility of qualitative
Well,
things.
I don't. Well, now I'm not sure what you mean by has the identity of being quantitative. The earlier thesis I held was it's the view that everything can be described quantitatively. Now I don't know what you mean by having the identity of being quantitative exactly.
Well, I don't have that. Well, I don't have a problem with that. So if you just say the world can be described quantitatively, that's fine. But I don't.
No, I'm just saying you forwarded two different theories. So the first one was you've given two different semantics. The first one being able to be described quantitatively. The second one being is quantitatively is quantitative as some sort of identity statement. I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. But I'm just making clear those theories are different.
Yeah, and I think so. When I think that only using it as an identity statement, that's what physicalism is.
But I'm not even sure what that means. Like, what do you mean when you say they are quantitative? Like, what does that mean?
It's just saying that which exists is quantitative. Like quantities exist.
Yeah, but what do you mean? But what do you mean when you say again? Like, what exactly do you mean by that?
I mean, I'm just trying to capture the physicalist position.
I mean, I've actually never heard any. But the only person I've heard define physicalism this way, there's only one person I've heard. That's Bernardo Kastrup, which is kind of funny. But I actually don't know what you mean by that is quantitative. That part's like fucking with me. But like, I actually really have to go right now. But I'll still be listening. Like somebody else can. Probably most people here probably agree with what so somebody else can pick it up.
All right. Well, I appreciate the conversation.
Wait, Dirt, how did you define physicalism?
That which exists in the world and that which is real is quantities.
So would you assume this to be like the same theory posited if somebody said that everything that exists could be represented mathematically? You just take it to the same theory.
I wouldn't take that to be this. I wouldn't say that's physicalism, because now you're not making really any claim about ontology. You're just saying.
What do you mean by?
But that's definitely a claim about ontology. So here's one obvious thing. Look, if I said something like I think it's an obviously false claim, right? So the claim about ontology there is just that anything that exists, right, it'd be possible to represent it in some kind of mathematical model. Now, if you say that there are some things that do exist and some things that don't exist, and some of the things that don't exist are mathematically modelable, that means you have to be able to mathematically model the fact of being a thing which does exist. Which is kind of the point people want to forward against like GameUH or other like Tegmarkian kind of physicalisms.
You said.
Wait, I haven't either.
Yeah, what's up?
You're an identity theorist, right?
Yeah.
Let's get it going.
Let's go.
Well, look, Dirt, do you believe in like mini worlds theory or the mini worlds interpretation?
No.
Okay, so you think you think it is the case there is some kind of like there's random noise and there's some of those have ontological commitments and some don't, right? So you're gonna say that there are some worlds which are randomly chosen, which do exist and other ones don't. Is that right?
Sure. When you say randomly chosen, it sounds like we're just talking about like the standard interpretation of quantum mechanics.
I don't know what you mean by standard interpretation. I don't know if you have polling data or something. It's just that MWI is not like a large sector, but it'd be contradicted by MWI. It doesn't seem like there's like a standard pick there. But if you want, you can go with, look, if you want to call it that, I'm fine with that. I don't really care.
Yeah. Okay. There's one world, and there's indeterminacy. That's fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So do you think that contradicts physicalism?
No.
Okay. Do you think there's a way to mathematically model a random number generator that's going to come out with consistent results? Yeah, because if you answer that question,
I don't know
here's the horns, right? Like you either have to say, look, here's the horns, right? You either have to say, yes, you can do that. Now you get like a really big fucking burden on your hands. Or you have to say, no, you can't, in which case that would contradict with physicalism, according to the account given, right?
Well,
you don't have to, you can say, so you have some other account given, right? In which case it wouldn't have a contradiction.
We can use quantum computers to generate random results.
Yep, that's true. And
So you said, can you build a device that's
you
going
don't have to use quantum computers for that, right? You can use click distances between Geiger counters to do like a true RNG according to this account. It's not a mathematical model, right?
that
It's
a
you're taking advantage
pseudo-randomness?
of it. Nope, that's a real randomness, right? According to like any account in which there is real randomness. So the issue though is you're not building out like a mathematical model. You're just taking advantage of pre-existing randomness existing in the world, right? It'd be like using dice rolls or something to build my random number generator. It's like it's not a mathematical model, right? The dice rolls are the things doing the math.
Sure, I would take that to be pseudo-randomness, though.
Yeah, you could take that one to be pseudo randomness, but you're not going to take the quantum randomness to be pseudo.
Yeah, and that's why I gave it as the first example. But anyway, how does this? What turns on this?
I just told you, right? So there's two horns, right? You either have to say yes, it is the case that you can build a mathematical model, right? That's a huge task for you to do, right? But the other answer is no, in which case you just got a contradiction.
So it seems to me that we can build quantum computers that can create randomness, and
They don't. That's not how that works. Look, what the quantum computer does is it takes advantage of pre-existing randomness, right? Quantum computers. I mean, you don't have to do that with a quantum computer. A quantum computer can do that, but like you could do that with just the distances between clicks and a Geiger counter, right? It's just you're not. What you're doing is you're measuring a thing which is random in the world, and then you're going from that to the number you're getting, right? That you're not building a mathematical model in which you like take in non-random input and give random output.
But hold on, you say it takes advantage of pre-existing randomness.
Yep.
And I think it takes those as inputs.
Yep.
Right.
That's what I mean.
Right. So it takes advantage of random inputs in order to produce random outputs.
Yep. Which means you're not building a mathematical model in which you have like non-random inputs and random outputs. You're just kicking the randomness can down the road, right? You're just coming. There's randomness over here, and if I pipe it through this mathematical model, randomness comes out. Like I agree, that's something you can do. I want you to be able to give me a function where f of x, where x is some like a non-random input, and then f of x ends up being some random output. I don't think you can do that.
So you can have a physical system composed of physical states, where you define the physical states as being some quantum, quantum observation. So, and you could say that's an input.
Yep, it is. You say it's an input. We both say that.
Well, right. You're going to have to define it to be the input in order to call it a function that's being computed.
Yep.
So
I'm asking you for that initial randomness, right? Can you build a mathematical model that'll give you that randomness without just kicking the randomness down the road, right? Can you build a mathematical model that'll give me the randomness? Like show me the algorithm for a random number generator that's not pseudo-random. You can build distributions. You can build models that give you like a random distribution on the output, but that's going to be non-random.
Right. But all you're asking for is non-random inputs that produce random outputs. Right? That's what you're asking for?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not even asking you to do that. I think you can both agree you can't do that. I'm just trying to commit you to the fact that you can't do that. And then I'm just making the argument that, okay, if you can't do that, you've got a problem on your hands if you want to hold to the other view, which is your counter physicalism plus that other claim you made.
Yeah, I just have to think that through, because just give me a second.
By the way, he's not a physicalist, by the way.
No, I can tell he's an idealist. I just think I think that the whole idealism versus physicalism debate is just silly, right? I think that the way that I'm going to cash out the at least the metaphysical thesis is just going to be that all of the to be an idealist, it has to be the case that all of the physical stuff supervenes under the mental, and vice versa to be a physicalist.
So you can have a physical device where the inputs are fixed and have some predetermined state. And now, owing to randomness, those could evolve randomly. But I guess you wouldn't be able to call, I guess it would be a question of whether your device successfully counts as a computer, because it's not following any syntactical rules. It's just evolving randomly. So whether you get to call that a computer when it's evolving randomly like that, I don't know how you make that determination.
I don't care about it being called a computer. I never introduced that terminology. I'm just asking about, like, can you build a mathematical model?
Yeah, I don't think you can build a mathematical model that takes deterministic inputs and produces non-deterministic outputs. Okay, so I took that horn.
Yeah.
So now, how does this get me to a contradiction?
Yeah, because you've got this view that physicalism is accounted for as you've got it is like everything is qualitative, and then you've got this view that you've also got this view on top of that there's no contradiction with physicalism and saying that there's like innate randomness in the universe. There's no way that you can quantitatively model innate randomness. So whatever the causal account of the innate randomness is, whatever that model is, they'll have to be non-physical. Right, given the account of physical.
So if I have that right, if we take physicalism to be that like everything is explained by something physical, and then we have these brute random facts, those aren't going to be explained by physical. So I don't know if you're just saying my view of physicalism is unfair, because
Well,
the physicalist.
I don't think it's a matter of being unfair. I just think it doesn't capture the views. I'm not aware of any good account of physical that ends up capturing physicalist views.
Because I don't think I said that everything is explained by physical facts. I just took it to be that
All
it
the
is
things that
exhaustive.
exist are mathematically modelable, right? Like, if all the things that exist are mathematically modelable, then it's the case that randomness, which exists, would be mathematically modelable.
But I didn't really introduce that as definition. It was more that that which exists is only physical states and nothing else.
By physical states, you mean what? I thought your definition of physical was just can be described entirely quantitatively, i.e., is mathematically modelable.
Yeah, but I think that it goes beyond description, and the physicalist ascribes a kind of identity. It's not
Well, if it
just
goes beyond description, that seems like an issue with your account, doesn't it?
it could be, but then I guess someone could steal man the physicalist view and actually say what they believe, because maybe my view is just uncharitable.
Well, look, I'm going to tell you, I'm not a physicalist either, so I have no idea how to cash out their like some account that's going to capture their views. I think it's incoherent. I think the same thing about idealism. I think it's all jibber jabber. So I mean, I'm not going to be able to give you an account either. I had an issue with your account, but I don't think there's some good account. I think the issue is giving accounts. I don't know. Are there any physicalists in the room who want to talk to Dirt who have an account of what physical means? Lower bar. Are there any physicalists in the room who want to talk to Dirt?
Yeah, Detroit, it's time to unmute.
But I think Detroit, yeah. That's one of
Yeah,
his
Detroit is
roles.
a physicalist. He can do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's well,
He might just be busy.
yeah, but like,
Yeah, but
yeah.
when I say I'm a physicalist, it's about
Detroit, come on.
I'm not. I'm sick. I don't really feel like getting into it, but I'll just be quick. I don't take a strong view about like physicalism as a metaphysical thesis or like that everything is physical. I don't even have a notion of that I think captures what people normally want to get at. So I probably agree with some people here that are skeptical of that. Rather, when I say that I'm a physicalist about mind, I'm saying something like, mental processes or brain processes, that sort of thing. So you could use the term neurobiologicalism, whatever. And I don't, it's like, if you don't want to use the word physical, that's fine. But I think it captures, people understand what I'm committing to normally.
But you're just trying to capture the Phil of Mind thesis. You're not trying to go for the full metaphysical thesis.
That's right. I don't do that. Probably
No.
for similar concerns that you have, or that somebody had.
Probably.
There's problems with there's problems with defining that, and also problems with just this sort of general substance talk altogether. But like there's some proposals that are like fine. I think in that I could probably agree with them, but then they're typically very weak. They're not saying a lot. the world isn't fundamentally mental or something like that. The smallest bits of reality are mental. Okay, I guess I agree with that, but is that all we're saying? Okay. Anyway, you know what I'm saying, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, Dirt. It looks like there's like nobody in the VC who thinks that like the metaphysical account, or they're going to give you an account of physical and the metaphysical account. I don't think anybody has.
Oh, and just really quick, Supervenience physicalism is really, and the Supervenience idealism as well, I think is really, it's sort of a misnomer, I think, to call it a sort of physicalism, because the Supervenience relation is compatible with there being different substances, right? It's compatible with a strong form of substance dualism. The mental substance could still supervene on the physical one. So it's, I think, misleading to call that. I think it's a kind of unfortunate misnomer that's been called a sort of physicalism.
Well, I mean, I think it makes more sense in the context of metaphysical discussions. I don't think it's like super fair with the way people seem to want to divide it up in full of mind. But I have no idea how the fuck we could come up with some kind of like
but if you think that there are different substances, there's the physical substance, and maybe there's a different mental substance. You could still accept a supervenience view that everything supervenes on the physical. But
you could. I'm not sure what they mean by supervene there. I mean, I'd be fine with calling that a version of physicalism.
No. Supervenience is just a particular relation that says that like A supervenes on B if and only if any difference in A requires a difference in B, right? And that could be true between different substances, right? Right. The difference in the mental could require a difference in the physical, right? So I'm just pointing out that you could be a supervenience physicalist, quote unquote, but also a substance dualist, and that just seems. Well, I wouldn't normally call that a sort of physicalism, but yeah.
No, I'm fine with that.
That's all I was saying.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree with this like not capturing of the majority of views or the way that it's generally talked about. I just have no idea how to capture those. So I'm trying to like build off our intuitions on. Okay, well, I'm just going to build off of like general intuitions that kind of vaguely will split the views up. Sort of how I mean, like when we talk about like source physicalism and source idealism, it's also kind of like
that's like the way Draper characterizes it. The only difference is that Draper will say that source idealism is like the view that the mental is, I think it's like causally prior to the physical, and then source physicalism will be the reverse.
Yeah, I mean, those people that have tried to find a grounding to.
What was that? What the fuck? Jesus.
Who is that?
That was Patrick. But I mean, also to clarify, like they're both supposed to be compatible with like a version of dualism, or like I don't know if it's strange call it version dualism. They're both compatible with source dualism, right? Kind of one of the memes there, but that's like a nitpick. I don't think that actually matters what you're saying, Mason.
Wait, Mason, you still in the dining hall, or?
No, I'm going to the gym right now.
Okay, I like to imagine that you're just living there now.
Oh yeah, trying to become the next Detroiter.